was very, very young. My father actually built a walk-in closet into an art studio for my mother, and my mother pulled out this little object, and I was fascinated with it. She put paint in it, and then she blew it onto a canvas, and that was an airbrush, and that's how she airbrushed her canvases. And I was so fascinated with this airbrush that I played with that thing for years. I manipulated the paint like she did when she painted these beautiful paintings. I think that's when I really got the bug, and I wanted to be an artist. I am a self-taught artist. You know, I taught myself how to braze, I taught myself how to weld, and but I've always been one of these people that can pick up a book and read the book and actually produce what comes out of the book, like making jewelry and stuff. So that's how usually I worked it. But before, I used to go across the street from my house at Orleans Roofing and pick up sheet metal and rivet it all together and make these sculptures, these wonderful sculptures, until I really actually learned how to weld and stuff. And then I found out that this is not the kind of metal I was supposed to be using for welding. So I had to buy real metal to do sculptures, and from there I started making really cool sculptures. Painting came later on in my life. I started painting just a few years back, and one of the hardest things to do when you paint is this white canvas staring at you, and once you get that first brush stroke on there and you start painting it, then everything else flows. It's really wonderful. One day, Em and I were at a crawfish boil, and she was very young, and we found a little blue crawfish, and we took them home, put them in the aquarium, and from there, it eventually passed away. And so I painted a little painting for my daughter, and I named it Boudreaux Blue, 2 words. And 13 years later, you know, after giving her this painting, she was painting up here in the studio with me, and she said to me, "Poppy, paint me a Boudreaux." And I said, "Who's Boudreaux? What? How do you? Is that in French or is that in English?" And we kind of spelt it together, and we came up with this little wonderful little blue crawfish character, and we've trademarked and copyrighted it, and we have painted it since, and we've sold a lot of paintings, and a lot of the money goes towards keeping the studio working. We've always mentored artists in our studio. We usually take around 2 artists a year, and we have taught them pretty much anything that we can teach them. And a lot of them go off and open galleries and their own shops. And we have this wonderful program to where any of these artists can actually come back to the studio and work and produce any big sculpture they want at the studio. If their studio is too small, they come back to us and we help them, you know, produce a piece. And we have around 30 to 40 or 50 or 60, you know, artists out there that we have mentored and gotten out of our program. It's really wonderful when you have this young artist that comes to you and you're mentoring him, and he's doing these wonderful things, and then all of a sudden you say to him, "Oh my God, you can't weld that, because you know that's not doable." And all of a sudden he welds it, and you go, "Oh my, how did he do that?" And it's wonderful because I learn from these kids, you know, that I'm teaching, and they teach me as much as I teach them. It's a really wonderful thing. Well, New Orleans is one of those funny places in the world that you can go into a bar or a restaurant and see a wall that is crumbling and funky and wonderful, and then you say to yourself, "Wow, that's the color I need in my new painting." Or sometimes you say, "Oh, that's what I want to use on a prop because it's flaky and it's wonderful." And then you see all these lights and chandeliers and different fixtures, and all those things influence people's art. And when you go into these places, you get an inspiration from all those objects, and from the broken tile floors to the old chandelier that only has 1 light bulb in it. And you look at it and say, "That's art. That's the piece that's been here for over 100 years." It's a piece of the whole New Orleans feel, and that's just incredible.